and welcome to Mobile Email Marketing 101. My name is Amy Garland, and I am a Client Services Manager at Blue Sky Factory. I will be presenting today's webinar with John Michael Bailey, the founder and president of Wood Street, a mobile and web design and development firm. Before we go ahead and get started, I'm just going to go through a few housekeeping items. This webinar will be recorded, and we'll send the materials to you via email next week, so stay tuned for that. We will be taking questions throughout the webinar, so you may submit your questions via the GoToWebinar panel on your screen, or you can use Twitter, and if you do that, be sure to use the hashtag for this webinar, which is #mobileemail, which you can also see on your screen in the green box. Before we dive into the content, we're just going to tell you a little bit about who we are. Blue Sky Factory is an email service provider based in Baltimore, Maryland, and we will help you become a better marketer through effective email marketing and social media marketing. So now John's going to tell you a little bit about Wood Street.
Howdy, I'm John Bailey. I'm with Wood Street. We are, as Amy said, a web and mobile design and development firm. Basically what that means is we implement marketing strategies as they relate to mobile devices and web presences. That's it. So let's get started. Let's talk about mobile. Some stats on mobile. Mobile is obviously growing. You see everybody with their handheld devices. It's growing every day. The stats are always changing, but the most recent stat I was able to get a hold of is of the 4 billion mobile phones in use, 1.8 billion are smartphones. Now this is worldwide, but that's still a huge number. In 2010, smartphones showed their strongest growth, but this really is taking off in 2011, and it's just going to keep going up and up. Mobile activities that are the most popular are search, looking for things, obviously reading news and sports information, downloading music and videos, and what we're going to talk about, email and some instant messages.
This next slide is a study that shows if all U.S. mobile internet time were condensed into 1 hour, how much time would be spent in the most heavily used sectors. And as you can see, the blue part is overwhelmingly overpowering all the others, and that is email, and that it shows that email is used per hour for 25 minutes, which is almost half. So basically, email is dominating all the mobile web time. The next few stats talk a little bit about email usage in mobile. And this first stat I'm going to read is actually from 2009. So while it's a couple years old, I didn't find a newer stat exactly about this function. But I'd venture to guess that these numbers are even higher now that it's 2011, and as John said, mobile has taken off just since the beginning of this year. So this first one says that 85% of smartphone users check their email on their smartphones, which means they just check their inbox, they read the subject line, they read the from name, while 82% actually read, like as an open and check out the actual email on their smartphone. 43% of mobile email users check email 4 times or more each day, which is compared to 29% of those who do not use mobile email. And 13% of emails are opened by a mobile operating system or device. And keep these stats in mind as we go to the next slide, because basically this says in another study, but only 30% of U.S. marketers said that having an optimized mobile marketing experience for customers is important. So based on the stats from the other slide, this number should be just much higher than it is. So what does it all mean? It means that people are reading your emails on mobile devices and that you need to act accordingly. And we're going to go through later in the webinar how to design your emails for mobile devices and how to get subscribers to act on them. So we'll give you some tips on doing so. Before you need to take those actions, though, and start designing your emails for mobile and spending your time there, it's important to find out whether your specific subscribers are reading your emails on their mobile devices. Because while mobile usage is growing, there are certain businesses whose audience just probably isn't using mobile devices. So it's important for you to determine whether your subscribers are. Christopher S. Penn is Blue Sky Factory's Vice President of Strategy and Innovation, and he wrote a blog post called How to Measure Your Mobile Email Marketing Strategy. And basically he walks you, it's a little bit more technical, so I'm not going to go through the details in this webinar, but he just walks you through using an analytics tool and Blue Sky Factory's application Publicaster and how to set that up and determine, you can see a screenshot of his newsletter to determine, how many people are reading your emails on mobile. And that will help you to better determine where to spend your time when designing for mobile. And as I said before, we will be sending these slides out, so you can go ahead and click through to the blog post and get your instructions next week when you receive the materials, or just quickly search our blog for how to measure your mobile email marketing strategy now.
All right. We've included. Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Oh no, I was just going to say, just before John starts talking about design best practices, we have a few tweetaways in the webinar. So if you're on Twitter, you can go ahead and tweet your takeaway from the first part of the webinar, that mobile email usage is growing, but adoption by marketers lags, and the hashtag is mobile email. And with that, John's going to take it away and talk some more about designing emails for mobile devices.
So now that we've impressed upon you the fact that mobile is growing, that people are checking their emails on mobile devices, and you've spent some time looking into the stats of usage on your email campaigns, finding out what kinds of devices people are using. Let's talk about designing the email and really getting this message to the end user. The inbox is really the all-important, first barrier. It's basically, the inbox is your e-marketing gatekeeper, and if you think about, cold calling of the past, before we had this great inbound marketing thing, there used to be, receptionists or people at the front door that you always had to get by. Well, your inbox in a mobile email marketing campaign is basically the equivalent to that. This is where you need to get through. This is where you make your crucial first impression. So you really need to take this moment seriously. You really don't want to be that guy. Think about my example of the cold calling in the past. If you come across as the cheesy salesperson, the cheesy sales email, the email that just reeks of spam or reeks of pushiness, you're going to come across as that guy, and your email is not going to get read. He's a looker. So let's talk about what I like to call the email marketing trifecta. Mainly, I just wanted to use the word trifecta. But anyway, it's important that you understand these three things, what they are, and the importance of each. The three main elements of most any email inbox is going to be the from name, who or what the email came from, the subject line, and the pre-header. And I'll talk about the pre-header here in a second. So the from name is incredibly important. As you can see, it's in this iPhone example, it's the biggest thing that they see. Chances are pretty good that that's going to be the first thing that they look at. So choosing a from name that's going to be recognizable is definitely important. Subscribers will scan for familiarity. Whether it's subconscious or not, they're going to be kind of looking over this thing and looking for triggers of things that they feel comfortable with, or that trigger some sort of a response, emotional, or some sort of, this is important, I need to read it. So your from name is important, and it should be something. For example, Blue Sky Factory, I am on their email list, and when I see an email coming in from Blue Sky Factory, I know that it's something that I'm going to want to read. You definitely want to use names that they trust. That's really the takeaway there. The subject line is a little bit different in that once you've identified, either consciously or subconsciously, that this is who it's from, and this person should get some sort of attention, the subject line is where you kind of get the hook. On a mobile device, it really should be 15 characters or less. Not because that's all the space you have, but because that's really all of the all of the text that they're going to really spend time reading when they're scanning these things in terms of getting that hook in. So you want it to be 15 characters or less. You want it to be eye-catching and relevant to them. You have to think about this email marketing campaign just like you would with a regular email marketing campaign. You have to think about it from their perspective. What's important to them and what's going to be something that's going to catch their eye. You want to make it really irresistible. You know, test and play around with it a little bit, but make it something that, you know, that's a hot topic that they're going to, you know, use things like why this is important or numbers work well, you know, 3 reasons of this. But like I said, try testing these things out because you're going to find some of these things work, and you'll see this in your stats. You'll see your open rate. You'll see your click-through rate. Some of these things work and some of them don't. So you want to really do some testing and then, you know, figure out once you've identified which one's working, stick with some consistency because that will establish a norm of if they clicked it last time, chances are that they're probably more likely to click it this time. All right, let's talk about the pre-header. A lot of people don't even know what this is. The pre-header, this is a preview text for the email, and in Outlook, for example, the pre-header would be just a couple lines of text that would generally appear right above an HTML newsletter, and they would say things like, click here to view this in your browser, or you know, open it in another window, or whatever. What a lot of people don't realize is that you actually have control over what this pre-header is going to look like. So you could actually use this pre-header to load, you know, something that is specific to what you're trying to say. So if there's a special offer or if there are great marketing tips, it's just another way for you to really get them to click on this thing, to open the email. And ultimately, these 3 elements of the inbox are what you need to really use as tools to get people to open the email, because that's what you want them to do. So 5 things to really consider here, and these are sort of universal as you go through, you know, any email marketing campaign. And I've included a test version of our new email. And I'm doing this just to show you that we don't even do everything right. But I really want to kind of go through this real quick and show you that even something that works in a standard email marketing campaign might not work in a mobile email marketing campaign, and I'll explain why. Basically, everything's happening with thumbs. They're using thumbs to navigate through this screen. They're using thumbs to click on links, to select text, that sort of thing. They're also, you're dealing with a very small screen. I mean, this is a blown-up version of an iPhone sample, and this is much, much bigger, and it's still fairly small text. So you really want to be aware of how much information you're throwing at them, because it's going to be very difficult for them to read. The main thing I wanted to point out here is the link at the end of, for example, we have this Q codes are becoming mainstream article here. The read full article link, while it's big enough and it would be easier for them to click, I would recommend even going for some sort of button, some sort of graphic that is really just pulls their thumb in. Their thumb wants to touch that button. Next slide.